people and its Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin. Well, Niamh Barker is live in the Russian capital for us. Niamh, people must be very concerned at the warning about a year of tears awaiting them.
That's right, a very strong, very firm, resolved warning from Dr. Umarov that this is merely the beginning of a wave of more attacks that are likely to penetrate deep into Russia, were his words, in the capital here, Moscow, and other towns and cities nationwide, and also the perpetuation of the ongoing insurgency in the North Caucasus, something that's been going on for over a decade, ever since the Second Chechen War. So strong words by Dr. Umarov, who is believed to be in command of over 1,000 or so fighters, both men and women. This latest attack at Domodedovo airport, he claims, is in response to the killing of innocent civilians in the North Caucasus by Russian officials as they go about their counterinsurgency operations. But the clear message is that no town, no city is safe in Russia while the demands of the insurgents are not met. The clear demands are for an independent Islamic state across the North Caucasus.
Niamh, is there any sign that Russian authorities may be rethinking their tactics, which have been criticised by human rights groups, haven't they?
They have been heavily criticised following previous attacks like the Moscow metro bombing last year. The immediate knee-jerk reaction of the Russian authorities was to firstly fire officials, members of the authorities who had been somehow accused of being negligent for not fulfilling their roles appropriately. As we've seen this time round, that has been the case. A number of key security officials, transport officials in the Interior Ministry were fired. The second step following previous attacks was to go in hard in the North Caucasus, to send in the military, to beef up counterinsurgency operations. To a certain extent, that has been successful in eliminating key insurgent leaders, but those tactics have been heavily criticised for not, first of all, gathering enough evidence to be able to hunt down further insurgent operatives. And secondly, those particular tactics have been accused for making the situation worse, for only fueling the cycle of violence.
All right, Niamh Barker updating us there from Moscow. Well, still ahead this half hour, after celebrating its overwhelming yes vote, South Sudan wakes up to the challenges of becoming the world's newest nation. Plus,
I'm Kamal Haider in Wazirabad, a place which is famous for making swords, daggers, and other memorabilia.
Over the Sea of Japan, as cool conditions persist, you'll find something to whet your appetite.
Hello, we have yet more sleet and snow coming back into Japan over the next couple of days. You can see areas of cloud continue to move from west to east, as they should do really, sliding their way across the Korean Peninsula, gradually pushing across into Japan. So there's our sleet and snow, 9 or 10 Celsius there for Tokyo and for Osaka. That's not too bad, but some very heavy downpours and some very strong winds at times. Behind that, we've got a cold northerly wind coming in, so temperatures will struggle to reach freezing around the Korean Peninsula. Just 4 Celsius there for Beijing. Central areas of China looking a little more cloudy, some rain to come, a little cooler as well for Shanghai at around 8 Celsius on Thursday afternoon. And we've got that cloud which stretches its way down into central and southwestern parts of China as well. Always a chance of a few spits and spots of rain, maybe a bit of a wintry mix as well. For the southeastern corner, it is generally dry. And not too bad, 24 Celsius for Hong Kong. We'll take that, won't we? A few showers there into the Philippines, Manila, with a top temperature of around 32 degrees Celsius. Now for India, it's fine and it's dry, but the flooding rains are set to continue for Sri Lanka. We have further very nasty weather to come here, not just through Wednesday. That wet weather will persist through Thursday. In fact, we're hanging on to that heavy rain right through this week.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
On the next Riz Khan show, we discuss the fear of regional contagion as leaders in Syria, Jordan and Yemen make preemptive changes to avoid similar uprisings.
Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera. Volunteer tourism is booming in Cambodia, with more and more foreigners helping out in the country's orphanages and schools. But with claims of mismanagement and corruption, are these projects doing more harm than good? 101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
Back, you're watching Al Jazeera. Let's recap the main developments in Egypt now. Demonstrators in Cairo's Tahrir Square are calling for more mass rallies on Tuesday. They're vowing to continue their sit-in until President Mubarak steps down. Well, that's despite the government offering a large pay rise to 6 million public sector workers. An activist whose Facebook page inspired Egypt's uprising has been freed by authorities in Cairo, while El-Ghanem has been detained for 12 days. He was arrested during an anti-government rally on January the 28th. And Al Jazeera has obtained what appears to be images of prisoners being released by Egyptian authorities during the first few days of the protests. Among them, criminals given long sentences and others waiting for trial. Tunisia's parliament has passed emergency powers for the interim president there. It means Fouad Membaza now has the power to rule by decree and sidestep the parliament until the next round of elections. It comes after the main ruling party, the RCD, was suspended from all political activity. France's foreign minister is facing calls to resign after taking a holiday in Tunisia in late December during the country's uprising. Michel Alliot-Marie has also admitted using a Tunisian businessman's private jet several times during her stay. She says she regrets taking the vacation, but she's refusing to stand down. Well, officials from North and South Korea have come together for the first dialogue between the two countries since September. The meeting will lay the groundwork for higher-level talks, possibly between ministers. Tensions have been high on the Korean peninsula following the North's shelling of a South Korean island in November. Al Jazeera's Harry Fawcett is in Seoul for us. Harry, how are those talks going?
Well, they've been going on for 7 hours now, and we haven't been, more than 7 hours, we haven't been given any information that they've ended. We are told that there will be a defense ministry briefing at the end of these talks to give the South Korean verdict on what is going on, the official verdict. But it should be said that there are reports now coming through on local television, the KBS network, emphasizing these are reports not being confirmed by either side. But if true, they are very interesting, that they suggest that North Korea has agreed to the key South Korean demands that any high-level talks, on the agenda of any high-level talks, will be the two incidents from last year. The sinking of the Cheonan, the South Korean frigate, in which 46 sailors were killed, the South Koreans blaming a North Korean torpedo for that sinking, the North Koreans saying that they denied responsibility. And secondly, the shelling of Yeonpyeong Island, in which 2 civilians and 2 Marines were killed. The South Koreans saying that they want responsible measures to be taken by North Korea on both of these incidents. Exactly what that means isn't clear, but it does seem that the North Koreans, if these reports are true, that the North Koreans are at least accepting the demand that these should be on the agenda. It represents a very significant change in attitude from just in December after the shelling, when North Korea was raising the spectre of nuclear war, the South saying it too should be ready to fight, and then suddenly in January the North Korean side calling for talks, and the South finally relenting and accepting those talks, dropping its demand for an apology for those two incidents at the end of January.
Well, that's a very interesting development, Harry. If that's true, what are the prospects for the resumption of the sort of aid for disarmament talks?
Well, certainly the aid is perhaps a key issue here. The North Koreans have throttled off that aid entirely. Even earlier on Tuesday, they denied a civilian organization permission to take food aid into North Korea. And there are some reports coming out of North Korea that really this could be the lack of food, the economic trouble could be a motivating factor in this volte-face. There are reports from a North Korean sympathizing newspaper in Japan that has been a very hard winter, that therefore harvests will be affected. There are other indications that the economy has been suffering at the hands of the sanctions. negotiations. And certainly there has been a great deal of pressure from Washington and Beijing, the two key allies on either side, for a resumption of the six-party nuclear talks. Whether that results from this first step is, of course, a very difficult thing to say at this moment. But certainly this is, the fact that they are talking is a significant development on that road, potentially.
And definitely something we want to continue to keep an eye on. Thanks, Harry, from Seoul. Well, tensions remain high between Thai and Cambodian troops along their disputed border. Firing has now stopped, but soldiers are bracing for more clashes. Both countries lay claim to the area. Fighting over the past 4 days has forced residents on both sides to evacuate the border region. Japanese car manufacturer